Hi, I'm Dave Orlando with Image Pros, your imaging equipment source. Thank you for attending our webinar today, the first of many. Today we're going to talk about the Skan C, manufactured by ScanRay, and the technology behind it. We're going to talk about radiation exposure, the 5-year cost of ownership. We're going to talk about state and lead registrations, financing, and we're going to do a live demonstration on the system. What I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce our first guest, Dr. Hadraj. He's from Miami, Florida. He's one of our pain docs over there. He owns and operates the Skan C, and he was kind enough to come in today to give us a little feedback on his experience. Thank you so much, Dr. Hadraj.
Thank you, David, for having me today.
Excellent.
It's a pleasure to be here today. My experience with Skan C has been phenomenal. It's a great machine, good, very good image, and easy to use and great support. I mean, what can I? That's what we look for when we're trying to do procedures.
Right.
Really, reliability.
Yep. What are your thoughts on the software and ease of use of the system?
Like I said, the software is easy to use. At first, I had to rely on ScanRay. They gave me a 20-minute tour of how to do things and how to operate the system. Afterwards, I like it. My staff we all like it. It's easy to use. It stores a lot of images,
right,
which we always run out of storage.
Sure.
So this is definitely a concern. We always appreciate when we have more capacity to store more images, that's basically, and the software is super easy to use. It's very friendly.
Great, excellent.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
As far as your rad tech, how does she like the movements of the system, the operation? What kind of feedback have you got?
Good question. We're used to bigger machines,
mm-hmm.
and it takes it really does take effort to move the C-arm.
Mm-hmm.
With this machine, my tech has always given me good feedback that it's very easy to swing it back and forth into contralateral, oblique, lateral, all that good stuff. It's easy to move around inside a room.
Excellent.
We don't always have the biggest rooms to do procedures,
mm-hmm.
and definitely this machine is at an advantage because it moves quicker. It's a little bit smaller. It's more compact,
mm-hmm.
and it's a smart one.
Great, appreciate that. What about your experience from the time you placed an order with our company to the time we installed it? How was the day of applications training? Was it thorough? Did they spend enough time with you? Support, questions after the sale?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can give us a little experience on that?
Well, you know what? Yes, and thanks to
Yep.
Image Pros, of course. The purchase was really pleasant. It was a good experience. Didn't have any issues with that. It was spot on. The training was thorough. The support was there. I felt like I was really pampered. It was everything was thorough from A to Z. And the support that came afterwards for training my staff to showing me the ropes on how to really maximize on the machine, I mean, it was phenomenal.
Excellent. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, of course.
And as far as image quality on this system, as far as doing all your different procedures, I know you do quite a bit at the practice.
Mm-hmm.
How is the overall image quality with the system?
Image quality is good. I like it. It's especially with in the back of my mind, I have the lower radiation
right.
Rating, which I always look at the quality of the image and I'm like, oh wow, I mean, if I can accomplish this good quality with low radiation, it's like a win-win situation.
Right.
So the image quality is great, to answer your question, and I've never had a problem with image quality at all with this machine.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Anything else you want to add to the overview or your experience that you'd like to share?
I think it's all about the support you get.
Mm-hmm.
You can provide the best machine out there, but if you don't have the support from the company backing it up, it's really doesn't give that value. So I think the value of Skan C is having ScanRay and Image Pros behind it. I've got nothing but great things. When I needed the support, you guys were there, and that's why I really appreciate what you guys are providing, and I appreciate Skan C.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. We do have a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
These particular questions were more clinical related. Gabriella, if you can maybe ask Doctor some of the questions that came in.
Yes. So how many cases do you do per day?
Depends. Most of the days, when it's a full day, about 15 to 17 procedures a day.
Oh wait, and do you have to take any breaks between cases for cooling?
Not a concern at all.
No.
I've never had that concern.
Okay. How are the lateral shots for high BMI patients?
Good question. Initially, I had to call Skan C for them to show me how to, how to take images on my high BMI patients, especially in the lateral shot. All you need to do is click on the right, setting, and you'll get the image that you're looking for.
Okay. And was it difficult to learn a new system?
Just like anything else, we don't like change, but with the software, pretty easy. Especially if you don't have to be a computer savvy in order to operate the software. It's really, it's something you could learn in less than 20 minutes, and how to take images and save and get it all taken care of.
And how does your tech feel about the new system?
My tech likes it a lot. My tech says, the fact that we can, like I said, we have a lot of capacity, are you referring to the software or the hardware?
What about the movements of the system?
Oh, the movement. I mean, it's seamless. I love the fact that it's very easy to use. It's very easy. You don't need, like I said, you don't need a lot of effort to move the C-arm around, and the rotation especially is just seamless. You can literally unlock the obliquity, and it'll just flow nice and easy. So it's always appreciated. My tech won't have to be sore at the end of the day.
And
Absolutely.
Was the lower radiation aspect a factor in your purchase?
Absolutely, of course. We always look at the radiation because, you're not only saving yourself as a physician, it's actually the patient that's there and the tech. We always have to take that into consideration. It's always risk versus benefit, and one of the risks that come with these procedures is the radiation. Right. And if you can minimize that at least out of the picture, then definitely it's a win.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hadraj.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dr. Hadraj, for coming out. I know you're busy, you have to get back to clinic. Appreciate you coming out and supporting us.
Pleasure, anytime.
Thank you. Thank you. So, before we get into the demo of the system, I want to talk a little bit about Skan C, the company behind it. They're kind of the new kids on the block in the U.S. market. The company's philosophy is nothing is opaque, meaning the company emphasizes the importance of transparency with the customers and its partners. Skan C is a global company in over 70 countries with over 700 employees. They manufacture over 20 medical products. They are also OEM several products to major well-known companies. They are on track to be the next major player in the game. They have plants in Mysore, Bangalore, India, and also Bologna, Italy. Skan C was started in 2007 by 5 ex-GE engineers. Since inception, they have been recognized with many awards commending their ethics, growth, business practice, and great products. Skan C purchased a company called CEI in 2014. They are the third largest tube manufacturer in the world with over 65 years of experience. I had the pleasure to visit the plant in Bologna, Italy. It's a very impressive facility. They keep all the quality control in-house. It's very impressive to see the Italian culture, the values, and the pride they take in the manufacturing process. At this point, I want to introduce our second guest. His name is Aaron Sager. He's our field operation manager at Skan C. He's going to talk a little bit about the technology in the tube, and we're gonna move over to the whiteboard so Aaron can give a more in-depth explanation of the technology.
Thanks, Dave, for the introduction. Yes, as you mentioned, our X-ray tubes are made in Bologna, Italy, and it's not too far from the Ferrari factory if you ever feel like going for a visit. Our X-ray tubes and generators are combined into one. It's called a monoblock, and they're made with the utmost care and quality ingredients, just like Italian cooking. So let's start off with the generator. We use a high-frequency generator. It's patented technology, and not all are created equal. We'll see here in the top example that the high-frequency generator in this instance can make X-rays at the line of X-ray production 5 times per second. With this generator, it would be doing it at twice that speed. So this generator would be more efficient because it's producing more peak X-ray production per second. That means it's able to ramp up power much faster. So with that combination of the generator and our patented vacuum seal technology on our tube, which allows frictionless travel of electrons from cathode to anode, we're able to generate a much more amount of useful X-ray photons without generating as many low energy photons. Low energy photons are drawn here. So when the cathode boils off the electrons, electrons are determined by the amount of Ma you put, and kV determines the speed at which they travel towards the anode. With our high frequency generator and frictionless tube, we're able to generate more useful X-ray photons and less of these unuseful X-ray photons that turn into scatter and leakage radiation. The combination of all these things directly relate to a better image quality with a lower energy and also a lower dose to the patient, lower scatter radiation, and lower leakage radiation. Another byproduct of that, since 99% of all energy used to generate X-ray photons turns into heat, we have a much lower heat generated by our tube, and our entire monoblock is very good at dissipating that heat as well because of the vacuum seal technology, because of the dielectric oil, and because of the high frequency generator using a much lower energy.
Thanks, Aaron. That was a great overview of the tube and the technology.
Hope that was helpful.
It really was. We're going to get into the live demo now. I'm going to start off by showing you the movements of the system. So in pain management, they want to get quickly from lateral to AP very quickly. And you can see that every movement on the system is very, very smooth. We can go from 90-degree lateral to 40 degrees of over rotation very, very quickly.
Looks like a smooth ride, Dave.
It really is. It really is. It's smooth. Rad techs really like it, especially if maybe they're smaller, they're working with the system all day. The movements are effortless on this system. So I'll show you some more movements. You know, this movement in particular, it goes both ways. And most systems, you can only go one way. This system will go this way, and it will go this way. And again, the movements are effortless. Okay. You can even put this in a full rainbow position up top. If you're doing maybe you're doing some. I have a doctor doing knee injections. They sit at the side of the table, put their knee out, put it in a rainbow position, and you can use this for knee injections. So it's pretty versatile. We're going to get into the image intensifier. This is a Toshiba II with a Canon camera. It's one of the best IIs you can get on the market. It does have a built-in laser. It's not battery operated. It's fully within the system, so it's not battery power. You don't have to worry about replacing batteries. If I go to the laser, it's a class 2 laser. It's very bright. So when you have operating lights, it's very distinctive. The nice thing about this is it's also in line with radiation control. You know, when you don't have a laser and you don't have a positioning starting point, you don't know exactly where the beam's at. So you might have to take a few shots to get into the spot. With this one, you're going to limit the amount of shots you have to take for the exposure. Okay, so that's a really nice feature on the system. We have a foot control. We have a hand control of the system. Again, I remember this movement for some systems being very difficult, and especially when you have a rad tech moving this thing in and out. This is effortless, and you can literally do it with your finger. So it is a very smooth transition. I like this tech monitor because it is very functional. It does tilt up and down. It does go on each side of the system depending on where the rad tech is standing. And you can operate the system, touching it, moving it. It's in a very, very good location. I'm going to have Aaron come in and get into the details of the monitor and kind of give a better explanation of it.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. So you're able to move the system up and down from this location. You can raise and lower the system very easily. We have auto KV, auto brightness, darkness standard. We also have a boost mode. We have a radiation lock for if you are having a patient enter the room and climb on top of the bed. Here you have an alarm silencer, and one of the functions about our system is that when you hit that 5-minute mark on exposure time, It doesn't prevent you from taking more exposures, but it does give you that alarm sound. So a lot of other systems will prevent you from taking more exposures until you reset the timer. This one, it allows you to continue. In the 4 tabs that we have here, they're broken down to give you different functions to make it easy for where your rad tech can remember where each different functionality is. The first one is called mode, and here we can access 3 different fluoro modes. So our system is able to take exposures at 30 frames per second, and we're able to have 2 other modes, normal and enhanced, that can divide the amount of frames per second to increase image quality without necessarily increasing dose. So you're able to use these different options to not change the dose delivered to the patient, but using a software algorithm to merge frames 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 to deliver better image quality. We also have pulse mode in 2, 4, 6, and 8. And here you can optimize the lowest dose of the system possible.
And then here, a couple weekends ago, a doctor had us come in and take a lateral shot, me in a prone position, and he said, take a picture of a lateral in a fluoro mode. I did it, and the image quality came out perfect. He's like, okay, put it in pulse mode in 2 frames per second, and let's see how the image quality looks. So we did that, put it in 2 pulses, and the image quality came out crisp and perfect, and the doctor basically said that's all he needed to see at that point. That has the image quality needs in lateral position. So
That's
just a comment that.
That's correct.
Yep.
That's correct. Our auto technique actually also uses the pulse mode to find the correct KV and MA, and then from there it switches back to continuous fluoro. So we're able to follow the Alara principles in that manner. We also have vascular. And in vascular mode, you have DSA, you have, digital subtraction, you have peak and road mapping. And most of our pain management doctors like to use the DSA function for when they do cervical injections. They're able to see the contrast and make sure that they're not in a vein. In the next tab, we have image function. This is where you're going to see all the same functions that you would see on any other C-arm, except we have these tweaked a little bit. So here you're able to modify brightness and contrast and individually reset the brightness and contrast without having to reset the entire image, including the orientation. You're able to invert from black to white. You're able to flip and rotate the images. We have 2 filters down here for edge enhancement and image enhancement. We also have different camera filters on here. 90% of what you're going to do is going to be delivered by the auto KV and auto brightness darkness. The remaining 5-10% can be modified by changing how the camera filters work. These are just very minor touches that can be modified at any time. You also have 2 different save buttons because we have saving for last image hold, so that'll save the very last frame, as well as this save button, which will save an entire fluoro video. So you can actually save in 2 different methods. Next we have the Collimator functions. We have hard and soft shutters. The hard shutters are radio opaque, which means that they're going to look like your traditional LED shutters. And the soft shutters are more translucent and add density into the image. So if you were to take pictures of your hands or cervical spine, you could add density into the image and clear out the white space. We also have an iris collimator that can collimate down to the 5x5 centimeter, and you can rotate these in any direction you want. Lastly, in the settings tab, you have the laser, which Dave mentioned before, and you can also change the brightness on the display. And over here you have manual buttons in case the touchscreen ever gets damaged during the procedure. Even if this whole screen were to get cracked or destroyed, you would be able to continue the procedure with your manual buttons.
Excellent. Aaron, can you talk a little bit about the auto technique and when we compared it to some of the competitor systems? It kind of gets back into radiation exposure.
Absolutely. So our auto technique, this ties into what we discussed earlier with the high frequency generator and the X-ray tube. We're able to take images at a much lower KV and MA compared to other systems. So whereas if we would take a picture of my hand right now, it would show up at 45 kV and maybe 0.1, 0.2 MA. On a competitor system, you might see around 55 kb and maybe 1.2 at night. So it's almost a fifth reduction in dose delivered to the patient, and that also in turn makes less scatter as well.
Yep, very good. And then just one other thing to point out is this system is our flagship product. There's a lot of competitor systems in this market, and that kind of call on pain management. They have these very basic, stripped-down versions of their product to kind of compete in a certain price category. Again, this is our flagship product. Everything comes standard. There's nothing a la carte. We have our built-in laser. We have 30 frames per second vascular. When we get into the computer card, I'll tell you some other unique things that you get with this system versus some of the other models on the market. So I want to hone in on the computer card. So one of the features I really like on this system is it has a system status screen. It's called the Ready button. So every morning when you boot up the system, it will go through a self-diagnostics of the system. So every board in the system is listed here. If you ever have an X mark, it's going to tell you you have a communication problem, a tube headboard problem, console board problem. It's going to pinpoint it to the exact issue with the system. So when you call us up, you say, call our service department. Dispatcher answers the phone, for service calls. You tell her you have a communication error with your system. From that point, we know there's an issue, okay? So at that point, what we would do is we would proceed to remote diagnostics. We'd log into the system, and we would see if we can correct the problem. A lot of the times, we can correct the problem through remote diagnostics. This system allows us to dial into your system, do remote diagnostics, applications training if need be. So let's just say you have a new rad tech that starts and he or she has some questions. We can do virtual training. The biggest thing is we can pinpoint down to the board what's wrong with the system. So if there is a board that's bad, we can overnight the board, engineer shows up the next day, plugs in the board, and you're back up and running. With most of the competitor models, the troubleshooting starts when they show up on site. So they might do a phone call, they might have an idea what's wrong with it, they'll try to bring that part within, they call it a hero kit, they'll try to bring those parts with them when they come on site. If it's something different, a different part, that means another day of downtime. That means another part has to be overnighted to get you back up and running. These systems are so intuitive, they're so easy to work on, and with this software program and the remote diagnostics, we eliminate all the troubleshooting on site. Again, we can pinpoint it down to the board. Most of the time we find we can fix it by maybe reloading the software, making some type of adjustment through remote diagnostics, training, so it is very beneficial. I think this is probably one of the coolest features on this system is the remote diagnostics. We talked a little bit, well, let me start off here. We have CD burning, we have a washable keyboard and mouse, we have 2 USB ports in the back. We do have built-in DICOM, so if you want to send images to your PAC system, Aaron will talk a little bit more about that. You could send it directly to your PAC system. If you want to copy images on a USB port, put it in your computer, put them in your EMR, this system has every capability you would want for moving and storing images. It also has 2.5 million image storage, 1 terabyte of memory. That's almost lifetime image storage. It's almost like you got your own mini PAC system here. So at this point, I think Aaron's going to come in and kind of give a more deeper dive into the computer card.
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
So from here, we're able to modify patient data. Now, patient data is permanently stored in the system until you delete it. So you only have to enter patient information one time. Let's just take a look at a couple images here. So here you can see we had this patient, 259 pounds. They had 2 procedures done. You can see when they were done, and you can see their total dose for those 2 procedures. And just to touch on the radiation safety again, most studies in lumbar AP shots are going to be about 1 milligram per shot. Here we have a total of 8 images, and we haven't even breached 2.5 milligrams. So it is a very real reduction in dose. So let's take a look at a couple images. So from here you can see that these are very high quality images. This was done using our autosave function. So it's able to save every image you take, And from there, you can delete, you can export, you can create a video. We're also able to modify any of the parameters that you would like to do. If you want to rotate, basically the same thing that you can do on the live image, you can do on the passive image. You can add a notation as well as save a DICOM. You can save to a USB by clicking one button. You can also print locally if you have a printer attached. Let's go back to the home button. This is the ready button that Dave was referring to. You just click ready, and these boards are in constant communication, so every 60 seconds this is refreshed. It also gives you the application version that you're running, and then from here you can also restart the application. This will restart the application within 15 seconds, and you'll be up and running again. So we also have a bunch of application settings that can be accessed at any time. You can change the autosave function on or off. You can change how much the image rotation of the angle is. You can also select the image orientation. So depending on whether your C-arm is on the left side or the right side of the patient, you can select that before your case starts or before your day starts, or you can even permanently set this. And this prevents your staff from having to fiddle around with the image every single time that you take the first image, having to rotate it, flip it, or find the correct orientation.
And that stuff you typically set up during applications training.
That's
so
correct.
once it's done, it's done. You don't have to mess with it.
That's correct. We also have an option to do an external backup. So by plugging in an external hard drive, we could back up everything that you have on this system. Let's say, God forbid, there was some sort of fatal error with a monitor cart. We would be able to retrieve your hard disk because it is stored separately. We could back everything up and we could put it onto a new system. Now, since every part on the system is plug and play, if there were an issue with a monitor cart, it could be replaced by just replacing the monitor cart. If you own multiple systems, you can plug and play your monitor cart with your C-arm. It doesn't have to match up by serial number at all.
And then as far as like moving images around, DICOM, storing, sending.
Right. So from here you can select what images or what study you want to select. You can hit send to PACS. And from here you would select the images that you want to send to PACS, or you could select all. You can also use Control to deselect any images. And then for the same as CD, DVD burning, you would just insert CD, DVD, or external drives, and you can burn the images from here in the similar fashion.
Yeah, and then one thing we recommend when you do get installation for your room, you do have a Ethernet cord in the room so we can plug in, we can do remote diagnostics. One cool thing I want to highlight on this system, I just want to turn it around. This card is very light, it's very easy to move, but you have a built-in UPS in the back. So in case you ever have a power surge in your building, this is going to protect your system from being damaged. But the cool thing about this that I really like is this is the only power from the computer card into the wall, and then you have the interconnect cable which attaches the computer card and the C-arm. But if I unplug this, which I'm going to unplug, and I want to show you the computer card. So I'm going to unplug the only power into the system. Okay, I just unplugged it. The monitor card is still running. You're going to have 60 minutes of runtime in case you do get a power outage. The UPS is going to protect the system from being damaged. It's happened at 2 locations. It blew out the UPS, the power supply, but it fully protected the system. So if you do lose power, you got 60 minutes to save images, store images, send it to your PAC system, move it into your EMR. You're not going to lose any data.
And
so
to properly shut down the system.
Right. So I like that feature. It's pretty cool to have that built in, and it definitely protects your system. I think that's it for the demo. I think that kind of covers everything. Aaron, anything you want to add to that?
No, that's about it.
Okay. Hopefully that was helpful. Now we want to get into the 5-year cost of ownership. So basically, you know, we deal with a lot of doctors. They're starting their own practice, like Dr. Hadraj, and the bottom line is very, very important. It's a very important decision. And a lot of times doctors focus in on the upfront cost. You know, what is the upfront cost to bring that system into the practice? And they really kind of focus in on that number. So we're going to take a look at the full 5-year cost of ownership. Anytime you make this type of purchase for your practice, you got to look at what it's going to cost you over the next course of the 5 years. Unless you're doing this for short term, 6 months, 1 year, that's another story. But most doctors getting into it, they're doing it for the long haul. So I had a doctor recently was looking at buying a refurbished system, 20-year-old system. The price for this refurbished system was $50,000 with a 6-month warranty. Okay, you'll see that price all over the board, but let's just use this as an example. So $50,000 with a 1-year warranty, with a 6-month warranty, got the system into the building and got the doctor up and running. So you know, the Skan C, as we discussed, comes with a 5-year warranty. It's a fully digital system. It comes with lifetime software updates. It comes with remote diagnostics. So what that means, as we discussed earlier, is you're always going to be staying on cutting edge technology, because every time we come up with a revision, we'll be able to upload the software, and your system is going to be very current with technology. You know, the 5-year warranty. So the purchase price for the Skan C, you're going to be good for the next 5 years with that purchase price. Okay, so whatever that number is going to get you through the next 5 years. If you start looking at the upfront cost of the refurbished system that's 20 years old, gets you a 6-month warranty, what are you going to do when the warranty expires? Okay, some people will be like, well, I'm going to just take my chances and see what happens. And you know, I know this biomed engineer that's local. I can call him up. He can come out and fix it. So think about this. The CRM is your #1 tool in your practice. It's how you treat your patients. It's how you bring in revenue to your practice. And if your system's down and you have 15, 20 patients lined up for the day, you know, what is that going to cost you if that system goes down? Okay? If you call up your biomed guy that you know personally and says he's going to take care of you, and all of a sudden maybe he's traveling or servicing another customer, you know, what are you going to do to get that system up and running? Okay? So having a contract makes you a priority customer. If you call our service department, we have to get on the phone, as we mentioned earlier. We have to get a tech on the phone within 10 minutes. We have to do remote diagnostics within 1 hour, and we have to be on site within 24 hours. Parts have to be overnighted. Engineer has to be on site the next day and get you back up and running. That's what you get as being a contract customer. Any other way of doing business, you're taking a risk. And Aaron, I think you could probably add a little bit to that equation.
Absolutely, yes. With older systems that are refurbished, they are diagnosed with when the engineer comes in the door. So your diagnostics and service time doesn't even start until the engineer arrives on site, which is not guaranteed by any amount of time. So starting from that point, you're going to be charged for the diagnostics, and then there's not even a guarantee that they're going to order the correct parts to fix your equipment. And it's all a big guessing game until they get the solution resolved. With the remote diagnostics and the self-diagnostics of the system, we're able to pinpoint the exact issue before engineer even has to go on site, so everything can be done in a very quick time frame, as well as the customer can see for themselves if a board goes down that we're not hosing them.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So even if they were out of a labor contract and they just had a parts contract, you could see that you're not being hosed for whatever purposes.
Right.
I think one of the biggest pros to this system is being able to do the remote diagnostics, because most of the time it could be just a user error, it could be an application's misuse, there could be something that needs to be reloaded on the software. This whole application can be reloaded in the system within like 25 minutes.
Right.
So most systems take a couple hours to reload the entire firmware and software. This one is done very quickly, as well as the service is very easy to complete on these systems. Every major job can be completed in under an hour. We can change an entire X-ray tube in about 45 minutes.
Right. So just to kind of add a little more comments to that. So the guy that's at $50,000 to get the system in the door, you know, lost revenue, second year warranty, third year warranty, fourth year warranty, fifth year warranty. You figure you're going to spend anywhere between, you know, 8 on a very low end for a warranty, 10,000 average, and some of the higher end systems will charge between $12,000 and $15,000 a year for a yearly warranty. So even if you use a round number like $10,000, $10,000 times 4 is $40,000. Take that $40,000, put it on the cost of the $50,000 system. Now you just spent $90,000 over the course of the 5 years. Now you have a 20-plus-year-old system, 25. The system's probably obsolete. Parts are difficult to find. This system is going to get you into the next 15-plus years, and you're going to be staying at cutting-edge technology. So that's a little bit. Anything you want to add to the
Yeah,
cost of
absolutely.
ownership?
If you want to think of the tube and the image intensifier as the engine of the system, when you purchase a brand new system, you're getting a brand new engine. When you purchase a 15-year-old system, you're chancing it on a 15-year-old engine. So there's a very high chance that that engine will go bad within a short amount of time. These are rated for over 20, 25 years.
Right.
Now additionally, the cost of parts is much lower on this system compared to others because these parts are still in manufacturing. A lot of older systems, if they're 15, 20 years old, they may not have the parts in production anymore. They may also not have the systems in production anymore. And as those parts become more and more obsolete and scarce to find, it just drives the cost up,
Right.
just like any other supply and
Yep.
demand issue.
Yep, great point. These image intensifiers, these tubes, think of it as a light bulb. At some point in time, they're going to go bad. You know, when you're starting with a 15, 20-year-old system, that system tube and II is pretty much towards the end of its life. This being it's brand new, as Aaron mentioned, you're right around 25 years life expectancy on the glassware. Your glassware is your most expensive components. Your image intensifier, your tube, and your camera is called the glassware, and that's typically your most expensive components. Anything you want to add to that? I think that pretty much covers it. The only other comment I have is when you're dealing with refurbished equipment that's 20 plus years old, they do produce more radiation as they're older. These ones are much more efficient, as we discussed earlier in our talk about radiation exposure. I guess what I'd like to do at this point is talk a little bit about leasing before we wrap things up. There's many different leasing programs out there. There's good programs and there's bad programs. A bad program would be a high interest rate. It would be something that potentially doesn't have deferred payments, which wouldn't allow you to bring the equipment in, start earning some revenue before you start making payments. Bad leasing program is not allowing you to pay it off early, meaning once they lock you into a rate, that you're going to make that payment through the course of the loan no matter what. So if you're on a 7-year lease or 6-year lease and you get locked into that rate, you're going to make that $1,000 a month monthly payment or whatever the number is for the term of the loan. You want to have an option to pay it off principal only, no prepayment penalty. Another thing when it comes to leasing is a lot of companies will do fair market value. So every lease that we do is a dollar buyout, which allows you to write it off with IRS Rule 179, take advantage of the tax deduction. Typically for a system like this or any capital equipment for your office, you're going to see somewhere between 30 and 35% of the purchase price back in your bottom line when you do your taxes. If it's a fair market value, the write-off rules are different, plus the fact that you're going to pay all that money over the course of the loan and you're not actually going to own the equipment. The leasing company is going to own it, or they're going to charge you at minimum 20% to purchase the equipment. So ask those questions. Is it a fair market value? Is it a dollar buyout? What is the interest rate? What's the interest rate on the loan? Is there deferred payments? The term? What if I want to pay it off early? These are all important questions to ask when you're doing a lease. I want to introduce Gabriella. She's our territory manager here at Image Pros. Gabby?
On the next episode of our webinar series, we're going to be going over ultrasound. So we're going to be featuring our Konica Minolta MX1 and HS2. If there's anything specific you guys would like to see demonstrated on these, feel free to message us or email us and we'll make sure to include it in there. We look forward to seeing you then.
Thanks, Gabriella. Thank you everyone for joining our webinar today. Hopefully you found that helpful. We look forward to working with you here at Image Pros, and until next time, thank you very much.